So this is a 2006 Ford Mustang 4.6. I think this is the 3 valve. I'm not entirely sure. He's changed a bunch of stuff and it doesn't have the plate over top of the intake anymore since it's an aftermarket intake. But anyways, we're putting cams in as well as headers. May have to do a little bit of modification to it on the headers to be able to get them to work, but I want to try to do a step-by-step on how to get these out. You can do all of this without having to take the front of the engine off, like the timing cover, the front part of the oil pan, all that good stuff. So you take the battery tray out. That's going to be your first thing. Disconnect your battery with the driver door open. That way the window stays partially cracked. Then after disconnecting the battery, close the door. And you have 3 8mm bolts, and then you have the tie down strap, which this one is an 8mm as well. So you've got 3 8mm bolts, then you have the tie down strap. The battery posts, if they haven't been changed, are also 8mm. So disconnect those, disconnect all these bolts, then you have a Christmas tree connector here. You disconnect it with the easiest route is trim tool. I bought these from maybe Temu. I don't remember exactly. The next step is going to be getting the wiring harness out of the way, because you have to take this valve cover off. And in order to get the wiring harness out of the way, there are a couple plugs to disconnect. One is here, the other goes to the front side of the computer, and then you have one that mounts in the bottom side of the fuse box. So I'm going to set the ratchet out of the way for a moment. In order to get these plugs out, you'll first want to disconnect your hot lead coming in. These are 7mm. So you take a 7mm socket, turn those out. These aren't like the Chevrolets where you can see that they're disconnected, but you'll know because you'll start feeling it try to jump on the plug. Okay, so the fuse box is removed, and I told you a little bit wrong, but you start from the front here, start unscrewing the bolt, then you'll feel it get tight and then it'll get loose again. You'll work your way all the way to the back, and then there's a tab up under here that you flip up, and then there's a fuse box stuck out of the way. I will remove that completely just to make sure that I don't have it in my way. This is the plug that you're wanting to remove. It's green. It's the rearmost position. You do have a Christmas tree clip here, so we will, without knocking the fuse box off, and that clip is disconnected. Your next one is going to be here. There is a Christmas tree connector on this one as well, so if you're disconnecting this without taking this connector off, you'll push here, maybe reach under the front side. Nope. You need something to coax it off of there with, and it's really difficult to do not having the room to do it. So I'm going to see, this is a Christmas tree connector too, so there's usually grooves under the bottom side of these plugs to allow it to slide out. I'm going to end up knocking my phone off, so let me get this disconnected. I'm going to pull this off of the mounting bracket and then unplug it. Okay, so I went ahead and disconnected the computer too while I was there because I had a feeling that I wouldn't have the room to do it. So the top plug and the bottom plug are the only two plugs that you have to disconnect. Then you want to come up here and disconnect all of your ignition coils and your injectors. These have a squeeze tab on them. Squeeze it and pull right off. Be careful not to break them because they will break if they've been extremely brittle. Thankfully, this car only has like 40,000 miles on it. And it seems to have, yeah, right up under the wire loom is connected onto a stud. Alright, those are loose, except for this one has an extra one. Alright, so this whole harness is officially, well, not officially completely out of the way, but mostly out of the way. I'm not entirely sure where this front part of the loom goes, but I think it's out of the way enough. Now your next step is going to be removing the ignition coils. Those look to be 7mm. They could very well be 8s, but I will let you know. Those are 7mm. And, well, if I can get on there. These I'm sure are 8mm. Yeah, these are 8mm. So these bolts into the ignition coils are 7mm. The ones that go into the exterior of the valve cover are 8mm. Okay, so after all of this is done, you get the valve cover off. This is the hard side, supposedly. It looks to me like this side's going to be the hard side since you have the master cylinder and the brake booster in the way. But we'll see. I'll continue on with the passenger side since it looks somewhat easy. And get all this apart, get the camshaft taken loose after I have a tool inside to hold the timing chain. Get the camshaft completely taken loose, mark it really good, clean it up with brake parts cleaner just so I don't have to worry about my mark going away, and mark it with a permanent marker.